Dominic Cummings says you're lying about the May 20th Bring Your Own Booze Downing Street event. He says you were explicitly warned personally by him, and your private secretary, Martin Reynolds, was also warned that this was outside the rules and should be cancelled, but you went ahead anyway. That's been confirmed to me by a second Downing Street figure. You, in contrast, say you had no prior knowledge of this party. You thought it was a work event. Have you lied to the public and to Parliament?
No, Beth, but I want to begin by repeating my apologies to everybody for the misjudgments that I've made, that we may have made in number 10 and beyond, whether in Downing Street or throughout the pandemic. And I do know how infuriating it must be for people up and down the country in view of the huge sacrifices that people have made, the way that they've kept discipline, the way they've followed the rules, followed the guidance, done the right thing, to think that that didn't happen in number 10 Downing Street. So I want to just say to you on that point, no, nobody told me that what we were doing was, as you say, against the rules, that the event in question was something that we were going to do something that wasn't a work event. And, as I said in the House of Commons, when I went out into that garden, I thought that I was attending a work event. I think it's very important that we see what Sue Gray, see what the inquiry has to say. I will be coming back to the House of Commons as soon as it's reported, or as soon as I can after it's reported, and I'll be telling people more.
Okay, just to be clear then, you're saying that Dominic Cummings is lying and his version of events is not true.
I just repeat, I'm deeply sorry for mistakes that were made.
Are you saying that he's lying and his version of events? It's very important. Viewers will want to know, the public will want to know, your MPs will want to know.
Of course.
He is on the record saying under oath, you are lying, that you were warned about this event and you went ahead anyway, that you knew that it was dodgy.
Categorically, that nobody told me, and nobody said that this was something that was against the rules, that was a breach of the COVID rules, or we were doing something that wasn't a work event, because frankly, I don't think, I can't imagine why on earth it would have gone ahead, or why it would have been allowed to go ahead. My memory of this event, as I've said, is going out into the garden for about 25 minutes for what I implicitly thought was a work event, and talking to staff, thanking staff. I can't remember exactly how many, but for about 25 minutes I was there. I then went back to my office and continued my work. I do humbly apologise to people for misjudgments that were made, but that is the very, very best of my recollection about this event. That's what I've said to the inquiry. We'll have to see what they say.
Dominic Lawson wrote in the Sunday Times that as well, you had been told by two officials it was a party and should be cancelled. You were dismissive. He writes, you said they were overreacting, said Martin Reynolds was your loyal Labrador. Is that also untrue?
Well, I've told you, and I repeat, I'm deeply sorry for misjudgments that were made.
Your misjudgments?
And yes, because ultimately...
Because it seems like you're trying to pass the buck and blame other people.
No, I carry full responsibility for what took place. But nobody told me, I'm absolutely categorical about this, nobody said to me, this is an event that is against the rules, that is in breach of what we're asking everybody else to do, should not go ahead. What I remember is going out into that garden for a short time, and for 25 minutes or so, thanking staff who'd worked on COVID, who were continuing to work on COVID, and then going back to my office. And all I can say is, in retrospect, as I said to the House of Commons, Beth, if I had my time again, I would not have allowed things to have developed in that way. And when I went out into that garden, yes, I should probably have told people, I should have looked around and said, well, we've got to go back indoors, or this isn't the right way to do things. But, and I apologise for that, but I hope that people will understand the circumstances we were operating in. But I've just got to ask people to wait for Sue Gray to report.
So can I just be clear? So just so we're really clear on the record what you're saying about all of these allegations, no one verbally warned you at any point, and you neither saw nor was told about any email from Martin Reynolds about this Bring Your Own Booze party, or that anyone around you in your office or any advisors raised this with you. You had no prior knowledge.
I can categorically tell you that I never saw I've seen the email, the Martin Reynolds, the email of invitation. Clearly, that was not phrased in a way that was right.
After the event.
Yeah, I only saw it the other day. I mean, I saw it, when it emerged. I think it was a few days ago.
Dominic Cummins was your closest advisor, and he said he verbally warned you about this. Is he lying?
I can't believe that we would have gone ahead with an event that people were saying was against the rules or against
but you're not
what
saying
we were
he
asking
didn't
people
warn
to
you.
do.
You're then not saying he didn't warn you.
And nobody warned me that it was against the rules. I'm absolutely categorical about that, because I would remember that.
Okay. So if Sue Gray uncovers a different version of events and it emerges you did mislead Parliament, will you resign?
We'll have to see what she says, and I think that she should be given the space to get on and conclude her inquiry. And I would urge everybody who has knowledge of this and understand, memories of this, to tell her what they know.
So you'd like her to interview Dominic Cummins?
It's not for me to decide who she's got to interview, but I think everybody who has memories of these events should tell her what they know.
If it emerges you've misled Parliament, will you resign?
Well, let's see what the report says.
Your Chancellor said today that the Ministerial Code is clear on these matters when asked if you should resign if you lied to Parliament. In principle, should a Prime Minister stay in office if it emerges that he misled Parliament?
Well, I think we need to see what the report says, Beth, and with greatest possible respect to you and to all our viewers, I think we need to, we can't anticipate what the conclusion of this inquiry will be.
You must be worried you're going to lose your job.
What I'm thinking about today, Beth, is coming through the COVID pandemic in the way that we are. I'm here at a community diagnostics hub in North London, where there are 108,000 people on the waiting list in the Royal Free, incredible hospital, but they've got a huge backlog now, partly caused, as you know, by COVID. And what we've got here is a community diagnostics hub, one of 40 that we green-lighted in October. We're going up to 100 of them. And I think they will make a big difference to people on waiting lists.
But Prime Minister, I will ask you about, I have got a couple of questions, okay, but I have been asked by the broadcasters to ask these questions. I'm here to represent everybody.
Yeah.
You're not ruling out that you will have to resign if you've misled Parliament?
Well, what I'm saying is that we need to... You've asked me what I'm focused on or what I want to do. What I want to do...
No, I asked you if it's found that Sue Gray finds you misled Parliament, will you resign? That's what I'm asking you. Yeah. You're not answering.
Well, and what I'm saying to you with the deepest respect, Beth, is that we've got to wait for the outcome of the report. But in the meantime, I'm focused on delivering here at this fantastic community diagnostics hub, run by people from the Royal Free, offering an amazing service. What I'm focused on, number one, is clearing the COVID backlogs and delivering on all our priorities for the British people. We've still got a problem with COVID. We've still got 16,000 people in beds, and since I've got I'm in front of the cameras, I must remind people that it's a great thing to do to get a booster.
And I've got a couple of questions.
We've still got a lot of people who could get protected and
let me
need
just
to get
try
protected.
one more time. Do you accept on principle that a Prime Minister, if he's found to have misled Parliament, has to stand down from office?
What I'm telling you, Beth, and I'll repeat this, is that I think that you're slightly anticipating things. I will come back to Parliament with a full account and when the inquiry reports, but it would be quite wrong of me to anticipate or prejudge whatever the inquiry may conclude.
Just one more thing on this. Some of your MPs and members of the public think that this is your Barnard Castle moment, that the idea that you walked into the garden, there's 40 people there, the tables are laid out with food and drink and there's alcohol being served in the middle of a lockdown, and you think that's a work event. That is just ludicrous, isn't it? You are just taking the mickey out of the British people by
No,
suggesting that?
look,
You know how silly that sounds, don't you?
I think what people need to do is wait and see what the report says. But I repeat my deep apologies to people for mistakes that may have been made on my watch.
But you see that looks ridiculous.
It
sounds ridiculous.
I repeat my apologies for any and all misjudgments that were made, for which I take full responsibility. But I think people do need to wait and see the conclusion of the report, and I will draw the necessary consequences and conclusions, and come back to the House.
Okay, I've got one final thing on this before we move to COVID. Because this is important. This is the first time we've seen you since reports emerged in the Daily Telegraph, not denied by Downing Street, about 2 boozy parties held in the garden, in the buildings of Number 10, the night before Prince Philip's funeral, when the country was in national mourning. Was having to apologise to the Queen about those parties the night before she put her husband of over 70 years, she laid him to rest. Was that a moment of shame for you?
I deeply and bitterly regret that happened, and I can only and renew my apologies both to Her Majesty and to the country for misjudgments that were made, and for which I take full responsibility.
Do you think you can recover from this? You might be able to survive, but can you recover?
Well,
your polling is terrible. The public think you should go. Your MPs are in revolt. 6 of them have publicly said you should resign.
Beth, I understand people's feelings, and I understand why people feel as strongly as they do about this issue. I repeat my apologies for what happened, and I'm heartily sorry for misjudgments that were made in Number 10. But what I do need to do is wait for the conclusion of the inquiry, and then, but before then, to keep going with what we're doing. And I think what all the people you've described want to see is a government that's focused, nonetheless, on taking the country forward in the way that we are. And don't forget, whatever the stories that you've been rightly covering, there is also another story which I think you want to come on to, which is about a country that has been able to come out of COVID faster than any other comparator country, a country that has a higher level of vaccination than any other comparable country, a country that has the most open society and economy currently. Now that has been delivered by this government, but we need to get on and do much more. We need to help people with the cost of living. We need to tackle issues at our borders. We need to fix the COVID backlogs. We need to rebuild the economy. We have a huge agenda of work, and that is what this government is going to get on and deliver.
You must be very worried at the moment that you are going to be ousted by your MPs, that the public will not forgive you for what has happened in Downing Street during those 2 lockdowns. You must be worried.
I think it's very important that people who do my job should be focused the whole time on what we're delivering for the British public, and that's what
So you're not worried?
About. I'm focused on what we're doing to keep rolling out the boosters, to move the economy forward, to tackle the cost of living, to make sure we help people with the cost of their fuel bills this winter. Beth, we're doing everything we can to get our country through, and to make sure that we continue to have a strong economic recovery. I think it's an extraordinary thing that here in the UK we now have 420,000 more people in employment than there were before the pandemic began. Those are the types of issues on which I must focus.
Yes, and I'm only asking this because this is what your MPs are telling me, that they think you are going to have to stand down from office. It's not my view, it's their view. But I have got one final question on COVID. Has Cabinet this morning rubber-stamped the decision not to renew Plan B measures?
We've got to be careful about COVID. We've got to continue to remember that it's a threat, and don't forget there are still 16,000 people in hospital because of COVID, and if you don't get vaccinated, you're 8 times more likely to end up in hospital. 90% of the people in in intensive care are people who have not been boosted. We need to make sure that people learn that lesson and get boosted now.
And just finally, do you think you'll be Prime Minister by the end of the year?
I'm focused, if I may say so, Beth. I know you want to take it back to me in my career and all the rest of it. I am focused completely on delivering for the people of this country, getting us through COVID. We've had the fastest booster rollout of any European country. We've got the most open economy. That's because of the hard work of everybody in government, amazing work of the NHS, all the doctors and nurses up and down the country, and that's who I'm here to support and to thank. And what we're also doing is rolling out to boost, to bust the backlogs. What we're doing is rolling out the community diagnostics hubs, and this is an amazing example. You've got patients who can come in, get screened, get scanned, get tested fast, and you cut out a huge amount of delay. 80% of the backlog delays is caused by people who can't get to see a consultant or can't get the scan that they need in time. Well, we're trying to fix that by making scanning and screening more accessible and faster to speed up the process.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank you.